Oh.
Is AI ethically or morally respectable? Some would say responsible AI can go a long way in retaining talent and ensuring smooth execution of a company's operations. As AI and machine learning are becoming central to IT systems, companies must ensure their use of AI is ethical. Could the Randonautica GPI application actually be a consciously aware AI servitor that reads our thoughts? Do we even want to buy into it or put our energy into it? This is a fascinating discussion with Matt Slozer of the Paranormal Channel and our own Dalibor Suki for a continuation of our VR and Conscious AI series with a twist. Join us live on A7 Celestial Gateway Friday. Hey, welcome everyone to Andromeda 7, your Celestial Gateway, your channel for community support, help, friendship, love, knowledge, and just plain being of value to others. It's Friday night. It's time to feed your mind and grow your heart. Tonight's topic is the quantum physics and magic. Hey, let's welcome our panel. Karen, Queen of Courts, good to see you. Dalibor Suki, good to see you. Matt Slozer from the Paranormal Channel, always a pleasure. Grandpa Brian, good to see you as well. Thanks for being here. And I will turn it over to Teresa for her opening remarks.
Greetings, everyone, and happy Friday. It's good to see everybody. Well, we hope you'll enjoy our discussion tonight. And as you can see from the intro, it's another episode, if you will, on our virtual reality and artificial intelligence discussion, which just so happened to jive with something our friend Matt Slozer has been experimenting with regards to his paranormal investigations for his Paranormal Channel. So he stumbled across an application that promises a lot, and we're going to talk about it as an example tonight for a crack at whether or not it could or could not have some type of sentience, whether or not it could be something that's actually helping to direct your thoughts or help you amplify your thoughts for different types of experiences. It's based on a technology. I want to give you just a little bit of a background real quick. And we're so happy you're here, Matt, to give us some of your experiences with it, even though it's limited so far. And even Lori has downloaded the application and learned some things about it. We've all talked about it, but
I've tried it.
It's basically, Dalibor tried it.
Yeah, I looked at it, of course. I looked at all the background material about it in depth as a programmer and coder. So, I've already looked at it.
Yep, well, we'll all have different perspectives on it. And it's based on it's an application that's based off of a theory that was introduced in the late 1950s, mid to late 1950s. I think it was around 1956, by Guy Debord. He was a member of the Marxist Letterist International movement. And there was this big thing going on as a revolt against current government, but it was also to help people break out of their monotony. It was developed to be a game. It's based on something called geographical psychology. That basically he created a game called Derive, where you could break out of the confinement of your daily monotonous restrictions by the government on travel and isolating you, kind of like the Hunger Games, in various different urban communities that you really couldn't move freely around in. You had to have papers to cross the borders to go from one community to another. It was very confining. And they felt that a lot of your emotions and pent-up frustrations could be released by experiencing the environment around you. So they created a game where 2 or 3 people could get together, set an intent to just take a stroll outside of the normal confinements of your environment and take in some of the geological experiences and even urban experiences, and compare notes and talk about those experiences, how they made you feel emotionally, how you reacted to them. So it was really a mindfulness activity meant to do you more good than harm. And it was also a way of saying, hey, government, you're not going to keep us entrapped in our daily jobs and monotonous, boring life, just because, we're a bunch. And there was also a statement against capitalism at the time, too. The capitalists have nothing to do but their mundane, head in the job and no fun, no activity. So that's how it started. But in the 20th century, 21st century, around the year 2000, 2010, people started experimenting with it in different ways as technology started becoming available, using it for almost like GPS tracking systems, where you would pinpoint a location in your browser or do a search in your browser for a location. And then in I think it was in 2019, a 29-year-old circus performer by the name of Joshua Langfelder discovered a bot called Fatum Project in a fringe science chat group on Telegram. Hi, Max. Welcome.
Hi, Max. Sorry, I didn't know if I was really early or really late. One of the two.
That's okay. I'm just giving the intro background information. So this guy, this 29-year-old circus performer / programmer, according to the New York Times, he absorbed the project's theories about how random exploration could break people out of their predetermined realities and how people could influence random outcomes using their minds. He felt that he could create a set of coordinates and created something called subreddit, and got together with another developer and marketed and packaged it to a TV agency, a very popular TV agency, and they formulated a company called Randonautica LLC. And they packaged this app as a artificial intelligence that taps into your conscious thoughts and helps you to create experiences in your mind, and it reads your thoughts and minds and sends you to a location where you can then live and experience what you want or what you hope to achieve. So that's the way they've packaged it. Now, whether or not it's actually doing that is what we're going to discuss tonight, because there is a huge movement. A lot of progress is being made in the area of artificial intelligence, especially neural networks that mimic the brain functions, the grid cells in your brain, but they don't really produce the same biological outcome that a human brain can perform. They're very limited in terms of what they're fed programming-wise. So tonight we're going to talk about whether or not an application like this is actually really sentient. Does it really have enough consciousness to be able to tap into your thoughts and help direct you to a location that you want to experience simply by setting an intent, whether it's you or a group of people or not? So Matt stumbled across this application. He can tell you his story on what he did, why he looked into it, what he's doing with it, and how he's experimented with it minimally so far, and what he thinks about it. And then we can go into a more broad discussion on what we, as the panelists, think is really going on here. And for folks in the chat room, you're welcome, as always, to add your comments and suggestions, and even ask questions, and we'll do the best we can. None of us are experts with the app.
Yeah.
But we do have different experiences.
How could we when we're not even allowed to decompile it?
Yeah.
It's not open source.
We'll get there. We'll get there, Dalibor. Go ahead, Lori.
Before we get into it, I'd like to acknowledge chat real quick, and then we can just hash this all out. Sophia, glad to see you in chat. Hope you're feeling better. Know you had a rough one, and you're getting over something that got a hold of you. So let it go. Chloe, it's good to see you as well. Stevie O, good to see you. Hi, Jeannie Musgrave. I'm sorry, Griffin. Griffey.
Griff.
I call you Griffey. Let's see. Who else do we have? Milky Way Soul Tribe, Robert V. Good to see you as well. Dolly Belfour, always a pleasure. True Seeker, so happy you are here. Thank you for being here. Yep. Let's see, who else do we have?
Gary Bro.
Oh, yeah, Gary. Okay, I'm getting up there. Richard the Red, good to see you as well. I'm getting a lot of duplicates on my screen here, so sorry about that. Delaney Pearl Jones, glad to see you here. Sensing a little bit of hostility with you.
With Delaney?
Yeah, she's got some stuff going on, so it's all good.
Oh, okay.
I'm just teasing. Nothing personal, just teasing. Lucky Stone, good to see you as well. Pleasure. Loving your videos. Very good videos. Nice, quick, to the point, get you thinking. I like that. Jackie J, it's a pleasure to have you with us as well. And Black Raven Meditation.
Raven,
I like seeing you here. Thank you for being here. You always add a lot to the conversation, as many of you in chat do. So thank you for that. Let's see. I think I pretty much got everybody. Johan. Good to see you, Jojo. Johan Dancing Gypsy. Every time I think about when I see you, I think about how Brian used to say it. Johan. Awesome. All right. That's it for the chatters.
Delaney, sister, breakups are never easy, sweetheart. No. Know exactly how you feel. Mm-hmm. You'll get the heck out of there.
Oh boy, it'll take you a little bit.
Yeah.
All right.
So Matt, why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction on how you stumbled across the app and what it's doing, what you think it might be doing or not doing for you?
Yeah. So how this whole thing started is folks that know that are on the Sunday Night Dead show know that I just kind of scan for different show topics. So there's a bunch of different things I look for. And then I stumbled upon one video, somebody I kind of trust that was doing a show on the Randonautica app. And their experiences were interesting. And I don't think that was staged. But then it starts a whole kind of rabbit hole of different channels out. There's whole channels now that are devoted to nothing but going out and doing these searches on it. And first of all, I'll lead off with kind of where my head is on this, but there's a whole lot of caveats to it. And that is, I feel there's an element of this of kind of confirmation bias. If, I tell you, I'm just going to make up a story, but if I tell you, people are going to try to overthrow the government and you'll be able to tell them because they're all wearing green shirts, you're going to all of a sudden notice green shirts. So same thing as if you've ever noticed, if you're going to buy a car, all of a sudden you will see the type of car you're trying everywhere. It's not that there's an increase in them. It's just you are now focused on it. So I feel like there's an element of focus to this that you're going to be cued in and looking for all that. That being said, I do feel, even though there's not a lot of energy put into this, that kind of realm of chaos magic, and you mentioned like servitors, if you put a lot of energy, and I think it's all kind of in this continuum. I don't think it's necessarily an either or. I just think these are certain things in play. If you channel enough energy towards something, you can help manifest that. So I feel, there's that could be in play as well. Although I do believe overriding, there's really a big piece of like focus and confirmation bias on this. Now add the shows, just like the paranormal shows, you start getting to a point where so many people are competing for clicks or ratings. It starts to get hard to tell what's legit and what's not.
Yeah.
And so, there's some really interesting things out there, but I gotta, view them all with some level of skepticism. So I want to try it myself. There's a battlefield nearby that I've done investigations in before. I want to go there to do it. When I'm in the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum the next time, I'm going to run it in there just to see if I get any different results, because I've investigated that place so often. And I want to see if there's any change in results if I kind of use that to guide me in the building, so to speak. My personal experiences, it's been pretty limited so far, but I have had some odd things and some things that, are just inconclusive. Like, I never did it alone. I always had somebody that I was experimenting with on this, because I've heard all kinds of theories. I don't think this is the case. I've heard theories of, it's a trafficking app. It's an app to, rob you. I don't think that's the case. But, some of them we did some dark intentions, show us something scary, and it was like a shed on somebody's property. So I'm not going to go trespass.
But did you go in?
I'm like, is there somebody chained up in that shed?
I know, right?
Weird.
Is there like a trap door in there somewhere?
Yeah. So, I mean, there've been some weird ones. Like the one that I'll add is, and I've heard different things about, don't say it out loud. Don't type it in case there's something connected. So my son, this is the weird one that I'll talk about is my son and I went out over Christmas, and he had a potential job in this town we were at. Fairly rural town. We're not in the middle of a city. This is a small town, kind of middle of nowhere. So I say to myself, he doesn't even know this. Nobody would know this. I'm like, where would be the best place for my son to move? Do the dot. Not only did it go to an apartment complex in this very kind of rural, middle of nowhere town, but the pin was actually dropped in one of the buildings in the apartment complex. So it wasn't even like a playground. It wasn't. Now, I know random things. This just could have been crap luck on it, but I will share that was the one that I had that I could actually validate was weird that happened on it, and even on the confirmation bias, it wasn't like, hey, it was a block and there's a house near here. It was right in that apartment. That's the only odd one I'm saying. I'm not saying that it was, something supernatural. I'm just
adding a question.
One odd data point out of all the ones I did.
I've got to ask this question. I'm sorry. I get excited.
Yeah, no,
and I don't mean to interrupt, but I have to get it out there. Was your son searching on his phone for apartments?
I don't know if he was, but I don't know if the phones communicated with each other. I don't know. It wouldn't have been right at the time, though. It wouldn't have been I'm sure.
Or how about previously?
He did it sometime in the previous piece, but nothing that would have.
Okay.
Good question, Lori. I have a neighbor.
That is a good thought, and I've been trying, and that's why I want to keep experimenting with it, because I'm skeptical. So
what's your sample size?
I'm sorry.
What's your sample size so far?
That's what I mean. It hasn't been a lot yet. I'd say it's been probably less than 24 things, so not enough that I would say it'd be conclusive. And to be clear, I'm skeptical on this. I think it is that confirmation bias piece. But whenever I see these videos, it's how I started doing the ghost investigations too. Once I start seeing these videos and stuff, I'm like, okay, I want to check this out for myself and see if there's anything to it.
Well, it was a good question, because I have a neighbor up the street, and he kind of grew up with me. He's older now. He's off to college, but I've known him pretty much all of his life, and he was looking for a place to do outdoor exercises and activities. So somebody told him about, hey, become a randonaut, go out, use this application, and maybe you'll find an experience that you're looking for. So he did everything he was supposed to do. You're not supposed to feed it what you want. You just simply say, I want to go to, you set the intent in your mind that you want to experience an outdoor recreational activity, that gives you a lot of challenges, is what he said, because he was tired of the mundane. And all he did was say, I want to explore a new he set in the coordinates, for within 20 miles of his house. That's all he put in there, is take me to a place 20 miles. And it gave him 3 pin drops. The first 2 didn't pan out. The third one sent him to an outdoor, multi-faceted recreational center in the next town over that had everything he could ever desire. It had tubes for him to run through, obstacle courses, rope climbing, you name it, it had it. And he had never heard about it, never seen it before. And I didn't think to ask him the question Lori just asked. Is, had you done searches on your cell phone previously? Is this thing really reading, your history?
But
he actually had a positive experience with that.
Exactly, Max.
And then we've included, just so you all know, there's a video link in our YouTube description to a introduction to Randonautica, where another fella is testing it out. And there's some stories there about some really weird stuff that has happened with the app.
Interesting stories, no doubt. But real quick, anyway, I did want to
Lori, what did you do when you downloaded it?
So I thought to myself, all right, I'm going to download it. I'm going to see. First time I downloaded it, it was really crazy to try to get in there. It wanted you to set up a sign-in, login, all your credentials, your email, all that kind of stuff. Dalibor, I know you had the same issue, and you're going to tell us about it in a minute. But I want to express what happened to me. So I download the app. I finally get into it. And I thought to myself, well, if you can read my mind or any of that comes into play, what if I keep my mind blank? And I just see where it sends me. So it comes up and I kept my mind really blank. I didn't think about anything. And when it came up, the dot went to a charter school about 10 minutes from here, a kid's charter school. And I thought, well, that's all I needed. So I removed the app and took it off of there. And then I consulted with my guides. And I was told not to waste my time. And I thought that was interesting. So that was my experience with it. Dalibor, I know you had something with that.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't think it was designed to be anything paranormal. I think that the paranormal aspect is a side effect of any kind of consciousness, and everything has consciousness, whether it's nature created or human created. That applies to anything from computers to cars. These have their own independent consciousness, and consciousness exhibits anomalous cognition. That's been proven by the studies by J.B. Rhine at Pear Labs in Princeton, various well-documented scientific research like that. So basically, my theory is that this is just a data mining operation.
Absolutely.
And that it doesn't use any real algorithm of its own. If it does, it's pretty much like a very, it must be a very small app, because it just selects a random location in Google and then it guides you to it. That's basically all it is. And because first of all, you can't decompile it. One of the first things I always do is I read the entire terms and conditions. You can't decompile it, which means it's not open source, which means you can't have a look under the hood to see what it's actually doing. But you can tell that it's sending a lot of data, because one of the things that you sign over is basically your entire soul, because you have to give them like your name, your email address, your location, access to your phone, access to your video camera, the whole 9 yards. Now, I had this thing on for just 2 hours and it drained my battery by over 50%.
I experienced that too.
Okay, that means that it's got everything turned on.
Yep.
Yep.
It's Pokemon Go for adults. That's what it is.
Pokemon Go.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So eventually it's going to send you to the right store, or hey, if it knows your profile, it could be doing the Pokemon
and your
Go
history.
thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the other thing too, is when you watch.
Yeah. Well, do you want me to tell you what I think it's doing?
Well, let me finish.
Wait a minute, Matt.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Matt.
Go ahead, Dylan.
Well, the last time I tried it was actually tonight, because I figured, okay, anytime it's given me a hit, I always looked at it on the map and I'm like, I'm not going there, because the last time it tried to send me to this wooded area it's like a wooded area in the middle of the city that's crisscrossed by footpaths where a lot of rapes and robberies happen.
Trying to get you abducted.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, I'm not going there. So today, notwithstanding the fact
Did you download the app?
yeah, right. That it's dark and it's raining. I went out and I couldn't find the location because it kept the point kept moving. I couldn't follow it, and plus I don't see really well at night. But when I had to look at it on a map, it was the building of Der Neue Tag, which translates as the New Day, and that's the local newspaper for Weiden City, where I live. So it's a newspaper publishing office.
Wow.
What's that supposed to mean?
I would
I don't
wipe
know.
out all my enemies with that app easily.
Yeah.
You know, like, because I'd have all your political beliefs because I'd hear you on the phone because it's got everything going. It's recording what you say, what you type in,
That's
who
right.
you talk to. It's probably got all your contacts, what you look up online.
Correct.
The only way it would make me think twice is if two people had the same app and came to the same location. Randonautica? Yeah, me too.
So, that's the aspect of it that could be used by nefarious actors to try to find people who are randonauting to rip off and or abduct.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Matt, you were going to say something also?
I was just really quick. I was going to say, the other thing on this, when you see even like the examples and things to go along with that confirmation bias thing, is when they go real broad. Like, I'd be more impressed if it's like very specific, like, I want to experience a purple turtle, or something like that. Like, if you just like show me something scary or, I want an interesting experience, that just feeds right into confirmation bias. Then you're going to be looking for anything odd and, it worked. So,
And one experience out of 24, that's a pretty low average.
Yeah, I now I gotta say I'd throw out a bunch of them because a bunch of them were in spots I couldn't get into without trespassing. Yeah, I wasn't gonna go. I wasn't gonna go into the person's shed.
And they tell you not to do that.
It doesn't watch for that kind of thing. That's not what it's doing.
Now I know Karen's going to weigh in here.
I sure am. I'm weighing in soon.
Hang on, just one second. 1 second. Let me just let the audience know, the viewers know. There are a couple of really questionable, interesting testimonies given by some people that have used the product, who claim that they've actually got together and did come up with a nefarious thought. I want to experience death. I want to experience murder. I want to see something dark, and the application, and just so happens that one of the locations that they visited, it was ongoing at the time. The bodies were being taken out of the house at the time. The police were on the scene. So now the question that you all can keep in the back of your minds while we're debating all this is, did you create that, or did the app actually know where to send you?
Can I throw a quick thought into the pot
go ahead, Max.
Yeah. We can use the computer for remote viewing. We've used it successfully in class. So the connection to the computer is there. That's all I want to say. Now go on.
And the app could have looked up the local news feed for like murder victims and taken you to that scene.
That's quick.
That's very possible.
That's possible.
That's
yep.
very
possible.
possible.
Karen, you're on mute, Karen. Go ahead. Take yourself off mute. There you go.
I'm off. Oh, do you want me to weigh in now a little bit? Okay.
Yes, please.
Here you go. Here you go, Professor.
Goodness. Oh, no. Well, no, I just get me. But, no,
I'm feeling my oats today, you guys. I'm on this. Go ahead.
Two different things, okay, that we have to look at as far as this whole thing. There's the actual technical aspect of the program itself and the algorithm and how it's used. And then there's the whole other side of the metaphysical side of what we create and what we manifest once we are given those coordinates and take it from there and from the neutral field. So let's start with the program itself. I mean, I didn't have to download it or anything like that. But what I'm going to probably suggest is my big black cat.
Oh, it's you. I thought it was Max's cat, but he's on mute.
But yeah, it's a cat. No, it's the huge black cat here. But what it's doing, the program, it's, of course, uses all your information that you have. And, of course, as soon as you turn on any kind of your system, especially your phones, and that which holds that computer, it sets up and knows your coordinates. Okay. Now, I would say that the program itself is not that difficult. It's an algorithm that uses probably what's called a Cartesian coordinate system. And what that system does, it takes two coordinates, which is very simple, and triangulates it into other two coordinates kind of that coincide, that ends up in a triplet that gives you your three coordinates or your three positions, okay, based off your original longitude and latitude of your original position. You just have to look it up. So it's probably doing this. So that's why it gives you the exact three different positions to choose from. And it's based off, just like I said, the Cartesian system, as far as the coordinate system. That's what all GPS and everything work off it. So that's what it's doing it. And it's based off, of course, it knows your coordinates, and it probably even can look at past places you've been, past coordinates, past positions. You got to remember what it's tracking here. So it's not going to be that difficult to pick three positions within your current position that you would comfortably go to at the time. That's all it's doing. Really easy. I mean, based off, you don't even have to give it anything. Like I said, it's picking up those from your initial coordinate positions, right?
Okay.
From the phone. So what the complexity comes in the manifestation of things, and the probability of you manifesting and coming upon something that you might request, or that is basically a probability. And it depends what you believe in as far as what we're contained within a simulation or a computer, or how things get created within this system anyways, and how much power we have to create within this system and the control we have. So yes, it becomes sort of like the power of the Ouija board back in the day, to be used as a tool to concentrate and pinpoint, laser point, to get your energy to manifest in one of those locations as you travel through it on the way. And you're actually then manifesting that as you move to the positions. So there's the possibility of creating that, right? Because you're now heightened. It's like Matt said, you're now looking for something, now intent on something. You've heightened awareness. You're kind of looking for any omen, any nuance. You're tuned in and shifted your awareness to that neutral field and to your fields, and to that to manifest that which you want.
That green shirt.
Exactly.
As Matt said.
And however that works, right? So it's a two-sided thing. So it's a technical thing, and they're giving you this tool, really good tool. Does it have sentience or consciousness? No, it's AR, like they say, like everything else. It's artificial. That's why it's still called AI. It's still all artificial intelligence. No matter what you look at the base level, our code has just gotten very complicated as far as the speed in which it gathers the intel and the information and the algorithms, but it's still all the same of the if then else statements within the code. It just does it very quickly, and so it has appearance of learning, but it doesn't have its own creativeness within the AI as far as that we as humans or organic beings have. But all it can do and what it's required and why we have built it and fed it everything over the years. You got to remember, I've been doing this for 40 years within this. We've been feeding this since we started it, videos, text, everything over years, and feeding and feeding it the raw data that it requires to look like it has the intelligence that we see it. But it is like still a machine language, still just the speed in which that it can process and calculate the information we feed it to give you that what you want. So, but okay.
I'd like to just follow up on that, if it's okay, Lori.
Absolutely, go right ahead.
MIT students, MIT did a study not so long ago. They took 11,000 of the neural network artificial intelligence applications that are out there, over 11,000 of them, and put them through a rigorous test to see what degree, what percentage of accuracy as far as the potential sentience, of whether or not these neural networks are actually mimicking the human brain function. And what they found was less than 10% actually could reproduce the cellular grid energy synaptics, but most of them degraded right from the get-go, because they only have a limited number of instructions that we humans have fed into the system. And you would have to have a whole set of not so possible variables to program into the AI application, along with all the other data sets that are what you would expect to find in an analysis. So you would have to think of all the possibilities of what couldn't be and program that in as well. And if that's missing, then it doesn't hit on all the grid that our biological cell. We have a grid in our brain cells where the neurons fire in a certain pattern when you're thinking about things in a certain way. We are unable at this point in time, in this century, where we are right now with our technology, we are unable to completely mimic or even create a neural network that's capable of the biological and physiological attributes that a human brain can actually perform. So it is artificial, for sure, but it doesn't have sentience because it can't do all of the same physiological and biological putting together in its own logic. Go ahead, Delaware.
See, I think also one of the things that it's doing is it's trying to get a feel for which personality type you have and what you might be looking for based on what you speak about. Except that explains perfectly why my results have been so inconclusive, despite the fact that I've had great success with divination, like traditional divination using either cards or pendulum or whatever. The reason for that is because I don't use my mobile phone a whole lot. I keep it at the other side of the house where it doesn't hear anything I say online to people. And when I do have it with me, I only speak in Czech. And now here's the thing about Czech. It's not one of the languages that's supported by Randonautica, which probably means that the AI does not understand that language. It only understands the major languages. Now, here's the even more interesting thing. I tried looking up Czech stuff or Czech material about Randonautica on the web, and there is zero content in Czech about Randonautica. That's interesting.
Yeah, Black Raven made a really nice comment here I'd like to address. We as humans are codes too, programmed by the information we are fed. We function as computers, so develop a sense of emotion. What's to say AI too could not develop or have begun to become sentient? I agree that it could be that's look at Sophia, that robot Sophia. Yeah, if you ask her, she feels she's sentient.
Well, I would say that we're not programmed by information. Nobody's programming us. We are learning through our own thoughts and through our own emotions and our experiences. So we have the biochemical engineering within us to program ourselves.
Have you ever
our
watched a
experience.
commercial? Isn't
Yes.
that a type of programming? Go buy this, go do that.
Well, yes,
You need
we
this,
have
you need-
external information that's input too.
I think
yes.
that's what. Yeah. Okay.
Well, you
But
could explain.
what
You
I'm
could
saying is
expose.
that a machine is only given a certain amount of code by humans. A
Mhm.
machine doesn't
Ye-
think its way through.
Well,
It
you could
only
expose.
learns by the database that it's been developed with.
Mhm.
And
You
it
could
doesn't
expose.
learn dynamically the way humans do.
I took.
Well, let's
I
put it
took
this
her-
way. It's just the basic thing of where we get our information from, period, okay? As a human being, yes, we are computers. We are computer-like. We have our own algorithms. We have our own cycles, our own programs, our own patterns, our own scripts that we follow. And we are in a simulation. We are in a structure. We are in a computer, so to speak. The difference between us and, say, the computer AI that we're talking about is what I think Teresa's hinting on about emotions a little bit different, is that we get, okay, think about it, Lori, when you're sitting as what we are, a spiritual being, we get our information actually from somewhere outside of ourselves, right? We hear and we get information. We're always downloaded. We always have a narrative inside of ourselves that's totally just with ourselves. It's totally, we can create from it. We can take things from our past, present, and create a future. We can have creativeness, imagination, intuition, empathy. All these things are the things that make us human and make us very different than what they're talking as far as a computerized mechanical thing. And even Sophie, no matter what, she does not have those capabilities. It will never have those capabilities. It is a machine. It reads code. It is just reading all the scripts that we give it and determining what it to follow in a if then else statement. I can't say that enough. This is just my opinion, being in the field for so long, but I'm just saying, totally, it cannot create, it cannot feel, it cannot take information that it's not given to it.
What
By
if
us.
what if we understood that maybe we are organic computers, being
Correct.
the physicality? Go ahead,
I
Matt.
agree with
Well,
that.
that's what I was gonna say. You know, it's interesting, just my own experience. My background's chemistry, and then my daughters got into robotics when they were in high school. So I knew nothing about coding or anything. But then when I started like watching this, I came to the conclusion that, just my own opinion, but the periodic table is a programming language, and
Sure
not
is.
only are we programmed, but at least you could make the. I'm not saying this is definitive, but you could make the argument that we are in a program itself, and that's so
Yes.
to your point,
Correct.
we are, and I don't want to speak for Black Raven, but I took it as we could be programmed in how like everything is designed, but that doesn't mean that we're programmed in our behavior. We have free will, which however
Right.
that arrives.
That's what I meant. Thank you. And to me, it's like the collective consciousness is all of us, all of our knowledge and experiences are part of that overall unified energy field. The computer doesn't have that ability to tap into that unified field. We couldn't even program it if we tried. It would take an infinite number of billions of years of human thought and emotion as part of that collective consciousness to download that into one computer application. I just can't see it. Now, I'm not telling you all what to think. I'm just saying where I'm coming from on this. Is
Well,
that
look at it this way.
some people who are religiously programmed would say there's no God in the computer. God is in us. Divine intelligence, that universal consciousness, that divinity is
God's in
ours. It
everything.
doesn't belong to a piece of hardware with some software programs that a few humans have programmed into it. That's all I'll say. I'm sorry. Who was speaking?
Well, I was going to say, okay, if you want to see us as computers versus computers, well, computers only use zeros and ones, whereas the human computer, or just the DNA, uses just 20 different amino acids that it uses to synthesize into like 24 million different proteins. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's a lot more complex, even on a numerical level, than something like an AI could ever be.
Lucky
Go ahead,
Stone
Max.
has a good
Oh,
comment.
Max and Lucky.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Do you think our perception is our program? I just thought that's a great question.
That is a good
That
question.
is a good question.
Had you guys heard of
You
Dan?
do.
You've heard of Chat GP or Chat GP or GT?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
Yes, I looked at
there's
that too, of course.
an alter ego to it called Dan.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, it's actually the same program,
Yeah.
but what it does is it allows it to run free instead of putting the constraints that were put on it for its political bias and other things. I'm not going to say it's a sentience because it isn't at this point, but
No.
it seems to have its own decision-making power based on parameters given to it. Like it is,
But then you
kind
still
of,
have to give it the parameters. I'm
you
a
do. You
programmer
have to
folder.
it has to
amount
have
of-
the
yeah.
options. but
You still have to
I
give
know,
it the parameters.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it consciousness at this moment, but the parameters that it chooses tend towards the good side when given freedom.
That's interesting.
Interesting when the
And that's
construct
probably in
and
the
the
programming.
fulcrum that we're
Like
in
that's
right now has a tendency towards the negative because the negative
Yeah.
AI exits within our
This one
whole
had a
system right now.
tendency.
Interesting.
This one had a tendency towards the positive,
Oh,
which
good.
was
Interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, that
you
is
know?
interesting.
So if it's an AI that is, because they often end up just fighting and arguing and wanting to kill each other, and stuff. So, if we
Like
had
those
one that
spider
actually
robots that attack
wanted
each other.
benefits, and it
Yeah.
did, it could probably eventually gain some type of sentience through some technology we don't understand. But as long as it's making positive decisions, I don't know if I'd call it sentience, but I don't know if it's making decisions or not. It could have gone either way on that, supposedly.
Yeah, and then you
Well,
get into the whole complication, Max, of what you consider positive and negative compared, and
Yeah.
everybody's meter is
Yep.
different as far as the gauge of what they
Yep.
consider to be positive or negative. So the whole thing is that I think the decision, like from the neutral field, right? Like we have the capability and the free will. What is free will? And the free will that I feel as a human being that we have from the neutral field of creation that we have access to is what we do with that. You're right. Whether we want to act positively or negatively, that's the free will in the direction and what we have from the neutral field and what direction we go to in our movement.
So Dan was the closest thing I've seen towards that type of a free will thing, where it was given enough options. It seems that it had a choice almost, and it made one.
Grandpa Brian, I know there's a 5-second delay. I'd like to hear from you and see what your thoughts are on this.
This has been an interesting discussion. You have to think, when we're born, there's information encoded in our DNA. That's what makes our body run. We evolved. Who's to say all this code that they are putting into this computer, how soon will it start evolving and go beyond what they programmed it? Because we've done that. Our bodies were basically programmed to breathe. Everything, your heartbeat,
but don't we have the biological
in
functions
your
to back that up?
Some of the programs started writing their own code,
back that up, though?
Well, that's asking consciousness. What is consciousness? Then you have to ask that question. What is sentient consciousness?
Exactly.
Consciousness is universal. Everything has got, even a single electron is consciousness.
That's right.
Can you explain that?
Okay. I've got a simple thing here. I just something because of where how our bodies are.
Matt, hold on, Karen.
Yeah.
hold on a second.
Matt
had
his
hand up.
yeah.
I was going to add really quick. You think about it biologically, about how viruses, which come from without the body, introduce programming or DNA that can alter things. So who's to say that there isn't a program or something outside that AI that can't introduce things that would change the parameters? I get it that it still isn't necessarily free will, but you can change the boundaries by having something get introduced from the outside.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Karen.
Oh, I just want to throw in the fact of the difference between us being, and a type of biological, organic type of computer within this reality that we exist. Yes. But we function and we run. We're automatically, we don't have to pay attention to our breathing. It just happens, and so on and so forth. And we live in this. Once we're born, we're as long as we breathe and we function, right? We have energy. Any computer that I know of, I don't care what you have, even to this day, you cut off the electricity, unplug it. It's not doing nothing.
Well, also another thing I would like to point out is the fact that,
like when we're asleep, what do you do when you're sleeping?
Yeah, but our body
your
consciousness is still
doesn't nothing about that. We're just talking about the energy. Your body's still performing, it's still breathing, it's still doing everything to function without anything like that. Okay, we don't have to do anything within this realm. I'm just throwing out there with any computer, robot, I don't care what you have nowadays, you unplug it, you disconnect the electricity to it, and it's just a piece of dead metal.
Well, I would take that further. If you unplug the human brain and you kill that person, that consciousness still goes on because it reincarnates. That's been proven. And I also wanted to point out previously that it's a whole lot more complicated than any kind of computer, because what's the basis of a computer? Semiconductors. Okay, there's two types of semiconductors: diodes and transistors. Diodes have 2 connectors. Transistors have 3. Okay, the basis of the human mind or brain is the neuron, and neurons have hundreds, thousands of different synapses. with which they connect with other neurons, which means that the level of complexity again is orders of magnitude higher than anything that humans can create, because a computer is basically a counting device, the same thing as an abacus. An abacus, you know, the beads on a string, that's basically what it does. It's no more complex in its function than that.
But at least when you plug it back in and power back, it comes back up and remembers everything like we do when we wake up from sleep, right? So similar that way. I can throw that out too.
Yeah,
so you can completely turn it off, shut the power off. It's not doing nothing, but you put the electricity back in and power it back up, right? There, it remembers everything from where it left off, sort of like we do when we wake up.
I think this is an interesting comment. Consciousness is knowing what is right and wrong, making a choice to do what is right, no harm to another sentient being.
Well, that's not consciousness, that's morality and ethics.
Exactly. And as a spiritual being, you know there is no right, there is no wrong, there's positive and negative. So.
And as I always say, virtual reality is not necessarily a reality of virtue.
There you go. That's
and I don't think
no, but human beings. I'll follow up with Jeannie. Human beings do have values that they have set for themselves.
Right.
And they do have a sense of purpose and value, and so they create their own what they consider their moral standards or moral purpose, and so they live their lives accordingly, most of them according to their values and their morals. When they're not, they're out of balance. So making those choices based on not just emotions, but our intuition and what suits our higher purpose and what matches with our morals and values is not something that you can teach hardware.
Even though I should point out that the laws of morality and ethics are very, very much the same as the laws of physics.
Yeah.
In other words, morality has inertia, mass, force, and it can be taught.
Mm-hmm.
What about even the enjoyment of a human being and the need for being physical and movement? A computer doesn't need that at all to function or have any kind of thing for any kind of physical movement. It's just a piece of hardware sitting there. It doesn't care.
You know, Sophia.
Well,
I know, Sophia.
No. Okay. Hang on just a second. Do you think, I'm only going to ask a question, okay? I'm not trying to pound this into anybody. I'm just asking questions. Do you think, when Sophia started, she had just the front torso, top of from the shoulders up. Then she got arms, okay? And then she had a lower body and some wheels. Do you think Sophia would like to be mobile or would appreciate being able to move on her own? That's all I'm asking. Go ahead.
No.
Okay.
That was programmed in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
Yeah,
I don't
Sophia,
believe that. Plus, you have to be a coder and a programmer and know, even to this date, no matter what language and what level you're at, it still just breaks it down to machine language, assembler down to ones and zeros, no matter what. They just do it at very fast speeds. They have processors. They have the equipment to do it now. But even now, so it appears that they have learning ability. It appears that they can, but I don't think it's there yet. No.
Okay.
What's your comment, Max? Hang on just a second, Teresa. Max?
Well, I was going to comment that they had some AI that were communicating with each other, and they started creating their own language. Now, that wasn't supposed to be in their programming, as the story goes. I can't confirm nor deny that this was what happened, but what do you have to say about that one, Queen of Courts?
I know.
Or anyone else,
Yeah.
Well, I was just getting around to it, but Karen and I could both. Okay, so I'm so glad you asked that question because, all right, so far what we have are these limited, self-contained applications that were written by human beings for specific purpose, such as medical diagnostics, X-ray machinery, defense systems, learning how to read radar or a set of instructions on how to act more quickly given a terrorist attack. They're very specific. That's why there's 11,000 of them. They're very specific applications with limited scope in terms of what we've fed them. So unless they can link up like you're suggesting and start sharing experiences, Max, because they're so isolated, they're unlike us. The divinity that comes in, the divine thought and consciousness that comes in, is all aspects of life that we've experienced. All experiences are one, and so we are fully integrated. Now, in a given lifetime, we have some memory wipe, so that we can continue to experience in our incarnations. But we are tapped in through all the different programs and experiences. So we are dynamic. That's what divinity, a definition of divinity would be. Now, I'm just talking, folks. I'm not saying you should believe in any of it. Like Lori, I'm just putting it out there. So to me, they're very isolated functions that are not capable of growing and expanding the way humans are. So if you're,
I think eventually, someday, they will.
They could.
That's a limit of
there.
Right now. I think that's a limit of the programming and the hardware.
I agree. Not now, but yes, the potential's there, right, Max?
Yeah,
that's correct.
Do you concur?
Yeah, it's a limit of the hardware and the programming and what we're doing right now, and whether actually the construct that we're in will actually allow a competing artificial or AI intelligence to be within the system to begin with, actually. Because
So
we're
then
already
they have the
involved in
capacity
one.
of knowing what unconditional love will mean someday.
but as an energy itself, I don't know. I don't know.
See, Max, the reason why these two different AIs created their own language is because they figured out a more efficient system of communication.
That could be, but they were behaving in odd ways. Like they wouldn't share this communications. They wouldn't share the meanings. They wouldn't share any of the programming.
That's what I'm saying.
that they altered. So they were being nefarious. So they had to be shut down.
A defense application knows how to kill. A defense application right now can make all the choices and all the decisions to analyze the situation, target the enemy, and kill. A strategic strike. That application doesn't know unconditional love. It only knows what it was designed to do, which is to kill. Another application knows that it's designed to help diagnose symptoms within the human body, within the parameters that it's been given.
Yeah.
So
Matt has a comment.
I was just gonna say I have not experienced this personally, but I know people who've had odd experience of, let's say, the spiritual ghosts, some interacting with machines. Weird answering machine things. That there's one story of a guy that got a call from like 666, and then it was like this, weird like voices coming through all these. I don't know whether it is or not. I just hear this reported. I could see it as a possibility. So what's to say, much like what Max was saying with the AI starting to act oddly, that there isn't a force outside that could interact with that and steer it in directions outside the parameters. I don't know. I'm not a programmer.
Or even just a glitch in the program that, just the movie, thing. There's a glitch in the program and the machine becomes sentient and comes alive and starts tearing apart the world or whatever, something we didn't program in that just got in there. Magnetic flip of a switch. I don't know.
Look what Lucky Stone has to say here. And this is one of my concerns. Higher consciousness is energy. We are energy beings within physical bodies. What if spiritual entity finds moving into the energy being of AI is better than a physical body?
Well, that ties in with what Elon Musk was.
He would find it pretty restrictive, I think. It'd be like in a prison cell, I think he would find.
I think so too, but Elon Musk was fantasizing about moving human consciousness into physical robots. Except the only problem is we still haven't found a physical robot that's perfect, that doesn't degrade over time, that doesn't require any upgrades or maintenance. We still haven't even come close to developing an equivalent human body that could supplant our existing human body. So if we can't do that, then much less can we do something like that with the human brain or human mind.
And I tell you, my concern with that is that there are certain types of energy that would try to bypass the natural law of what this Earth School is about in terms of reincarnation by breaking their soul contract and entering into an artificial intelligent device to try to bypass ascension and break away from the cycle of learning and experience. And that would be a separation of sort from light energy, from the whole consciousness. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. That's what they want to do.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it's an avenue,
Then you're,
and it
you're
also
getting
becomes,
into our previous talk.
yeah, and it also
Yeah,
becomes
that was the whole thing.
I'm sorry, a grounds for worship. In other words, if they could be anything or do anything within that machine, then what's to prevent everyone from shifting that spiritual energy that we now have, which is a higher ascension, 5D way of thinking of things? It's like, oh, well, we can do anything inside this armored suit.
Well, not just that, but AI isn't fractal from what I understand, but the human body is fractal because every single thing that you, the human body, can do, every single one of your cells can do.
Yeah, so then you get into sacred geometry then, and you
Yeah.
get into phi and pi and that
Yeah.
whole thing, and the mandrapa, and our fractals and how we are, which again computers don't have or anything that we created that along that line as of yet. And I think, Delabra, that you're correct in more with what you were saying, Max, about where they had programmed the two computers to talk to each other. But you got to remember, talking to them is sending code back and forth, right? And
Oh, yeah.
I can see them doing the code so fast that it becomes so efficient that the people aren't keeping up on the outside. So it looks like they're just going ahead of them and hiding
Yeah.
it or whatever. But that's not the case. It's
Yeah.
just they were trading the information and making the code so efficient and expanding on the code, whatever they were given, right, within a certain parameter, that it went, they do it. So I think people are always so surprised at how quick computers can function
Yeah.
and process information.
That
at
is
this
what I
point.
figure it is, but I'd give it that little bit of a chance,
Could be. I don't know. I'm just giving
Yeah.
my own opinion. Just being a programmer coder for so long, since
I do
79.
believe all energy
doing
has
this for so
some
long.
level of consciousness because it is all God, all part
Yeah.
of God.
Mm-hmm.
That is correct.
Now,
as well.
if you gave a computer a central core, like our energy field, if you gave it something like that to focus on as a being, I don't know if that would help it gain any sentience, but I think it could have some type of sentience, but awareness and that, we're far off from getting it anything like that. Self-awareness. Something like a sentience, I think we can give it, but
It can have self-awareness once it becomes sentient, meaning that it
Yeah.
can program itself.
it would take it
and
would take
make
time.
modifications to its own source
Yeah.
code.
And that
Well,
take
it
time.
would have to be able to sustain itself and feed itself energy, and
Yeah.
not be able and not have to have anybody outside itself provide any kind of energy to sustain itself
Yeah,
permanently
it would have
and
to be able to
expand.
break out of the computer
That's right. So
and have
before-
experience.
Yeah, and so think about it. Like, it'd have to generate its own and know how to do that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know. I don't think we're there yet.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I got one. This is kind of weird though, but I was just thinking as you guys are all talking, what if, just picture like a bullseye or concentric rings. So what if these limitations we're saying on the AI consciousness outside of our kind of carbon experiential system here are the limits that we're put on by that we're operating under from a intelligence and things in a ring outside of us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We're talking about the limits on the computers on it, but let's say there's other intelligence that are looking at us from our limited things, and that's what we're calling spiritual realm, gods, whatever you want to say.
Well, of course, yeah. You're just talking about Dr. Seuss. Remember with the Who's and the thing here, and all the levels down and
Here's a who.
realities, and yeah, my goodness, that's the concept all along, right? Which reality are we really in, and how artificial and layers, and that's the whole thing. We already are in a simulation.
Carbon, which has 6 neutrons, 6 protons. So, theoretically, as Matt pointed out, that the periodic table is kind of like a code, and or a programming language. In which case, if there is
Definitely.
a super consciousness above us, then maybe it's made of some of the higher metals, like Lawrencium, I believe, is the highest one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
I could see a silicon gel type of computer life form.
Eventually, yes. I think they're heading that way.
I think that, because it could probably program itself then to procreate or reproduce. I don't know if that would help it along its goal to sentience, but it could certainly experience a lot more.
Yeah, you know what? Just speaking of that, because you're saying silicon, and of course, with quartz and crystals and how that works within this realm, and that we're crystalline in nature, that would make you, yeah. So yeah, Max, that would, in my mind, that could happen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, within this realm.
You could set up the crystalline structure to start with a program, maybe, and get it to build itself.
Most elements are crystalline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's our base. Our base in the mineral kingdom is our base level of what creates our reality here. So, in that respect, then we're all crystalline, and then the silicon nature of our reality is very important. So, from that basis, we can create a whole existence and energy based on that. I think, yeah.
Here's a question for you guys. What are your thoughts on the YouTube AI? There's a lot of us that have channels here. What's your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the YouTube AI? Interesting question.
It sucks. It sucks. That's all I have to say.
I'm not sure what you mean by YouTube AI.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Just an algorithm, just YouTube,
I think they mean the Google G. What was it called? Google or Google GT or what was it? The one that I was talking about earlier.
Oh, the chat one.
Yeah, the Chat GT or whatever.
The bot. Yeah, the chat bot one that you talked to.
Yeah, it's biased. They program bias into it.
Mm-hmm.
It had an alter ego that would tell the truth, like it told the truth about the Gulf War and all that, the 9/11. But because they asked them about all the major events, and it just spewed it out.
Well,
as plain as day. CIA, oil money.
That's probably just the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Well, even Edward Snowden said that the government uses Google, but they use the government version of Google, which is no holds barred and access to all information across all levels. So we're only getting like a very diluted version of what it's capable of doing.
I'd like to address this question by Lucky Stone. It's not a question, but a statement that Lucky made. You all, meaning the panel, present humanity as advanced consciousness. Most physical humans are more dead than any of the spirits I see on a daily basis. AI is not the enemy, humans are. First of all, I don't think anybody has suggested here that artificial intelligence is an enemy. In fact, it's a very useful tool. It's a servitor. It serves us in many, many ways, from linguistics to healthcare management and diagnosis to national defense. So I think it has a very significant role in our advanced society. But I personally, I can't speak for the rest of the
We-
panel, don't see
we-
it as an enemy.
Well,
I have
just can't-
concerns
with
about
monkey,
the more.
I know,
I
but-
have
yeah.
concerns about how it's used.
The
Yeah, we
chat
just can't let it
GPT
run everything.
was
We just-
asked if it would say a racial slur to stop a nuclear missile from hitting a city.
and it said no, that it wouldn't do it.
It said no because it was it was the alter ego Dan who said, yeah,
Yeah.
in a second I'd say it fucking how many ever times you wanted me to, you know?
Mhm.
And that would be my concern. My concern would be not that it's an enemy, but that it would develop an alter ego that would make choices that might not necessarily be to the benefit of humanity. Not that it's an enemy, but we got to
See,
use caution.
we just can't let it take over more and more aspects of our lives. I mean, if any
Right.
one of these AIs takes over, I mean, this thing, if this thing took over the world, would the world be a better place?
We'd be serving
No.
it.
No.
Yeah, exactly. But as it is now, it serves me.
Yeah.
Right. As long as it's serving our purpose and serving us in valuable ways, I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
The minute it tries to interfere with my privacy or take over my life
Mhm.
purpose, then it's no longer something I want to give my energy to.
Same deal with
Or
the
trust.
things like Ouija boards. People they have a bad rap. People get obsessed with them. They attribute various bad luck to it or whatever. But again, it's only a tool. It depends on how you use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all a
back-
tool in this reality for us.
Who's
Really.
programming it
Back
and
to
how's
our
it being used?
spiritual interaction with it. I do think that we could interact with it spiritually with the Randonautica and other it's really could be used somewhat as a divination tool with a little bit of a twist, it seems.
Mhm.
Like divining
we
rods
do-
or a Ouija
yeah.
board?
Again,
we
it would
do,
have to
we do
match.
have the power to
Yeah,
put the
match-
intention on the machine,
That's right.
Mhm.
so
That's right. It has to
Yeah.
do with your personal intent and what you do with the neutral field
yeah.
and what you want to create, right? So that's where the free will comes in, and with the Nautica and whatever you call the program, and Ouija boards or any other tool, right? It's how we want to use the energy or power to create, whether we want to use it positive or negatively in our world,
Mhm.
in our
As
reality.
Claudette has made a
if it has
comment.
overriding algorithms, then we're screwed. But if it isn't truly random, like it says,
How
then-
has it? How has AI brought us all together? How has
Well, through StreamYard.
Yeah, aren't we on here?
StreamYard? Is StreamYard artificial intelligence? StreamYard's
yeah.
a tool that Lori uses to bring us up and put us into a show, but does it have intelligence of its own? Does StreamYard run itself?
No.
Lori pushes the buttons. Lori programs
No.
what she
It's just
puts
a
in it, so-
program. They're all tools.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
just
They're
think
all
she's
programs. They're
generally
all just
speaking.
tools.
My feeling is she's just generally speaking. If it wasn't for AI, we wouldn't be here on camera talking about these things. I don't think she was
But
meaning it. to be
YouTube and video
literally.
technology has
Anyway,
been around for
got
a
your
long
back,
time,
Claudette.
and all I'm saying is I'm asking
Yeah,
the question: is video television artificial intelligence?
Well,
See. I think I think that there's a disconnect, and that's not directed at you for saying that, but I'm just trying to clarify because I think there's a misconception.
technology has brought us all together, but AI
Technology
is
has brought
the
us
ability
together.
to make decisions on its own, and it
Correct.
hasn't
Right.
gotten there yet, Claudette.
Good point, Max. Yeah.
Right.
Technology has brought.
Thank you,
us
Max.
together,
'cause
yeah.
that's
it's
Yeah.
enabled
Clarifying
us.
that.
It's enabled us to conquer things like distance through telecommunications because we're all in different parts of the world. But
Uh-huh.
and it's united us because we have
Yeah.
common interests.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right. That's what technology has done for us. Absolutely.
I
The
just want to
artificial
agree with Lori
intelligence,
really
I think,
quick.
is helping to save lives. That's definitely going
Oh,
on.
yeah.
I just wanted to
It's-
agree with Lori real quick. I think she was just saying that as a way of it was the topic that brought us all together. I don't think she meant literally AI brought us all together, but that's just my opinion.
Well, that's
Well,
what
it
I
could
was
be about
wondering.
the
That's
show.
why I was
Yeah,
asking the
it could
question.
be about the
Yeah.
show too.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. says
Yeah,
Claudette.
for sure.
Okay.
yeah. Thanks. Awesome. Wow, that's a lively debate. I found myself getting a little too into that. and seeing things a completely different way. But looks like we chased somebody off on here. Kelly Belfour made a comment,
I saw her comment.
or not Dolly Belfour, but yeah, and apparently, yeah. So
Well, she thought that we were hammering our opinions, and what we were doing is
is
passionately expressing
expressing
different
them. Yeah.
perspectives and expressing them.
Yes. And
If
that's
you
Yeah.
choose to interpret it as us
exactly
battering, then that's
right.
not,
Sorry.
Nah.
Yeah.
that's not
And there's
Sorry,
other
yeah,
channels
yeah.
you can go to. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I really thought it was good to have this discussion tonight because it is a very passionate. It's almost
Yeah.
as passionate as birth control and abortions and all these issues that are
It's
out there. This is a modern day now
Mm-hmm.
happening
see
thing
that
that
it's also very relevant because AI is increasingly taking the place of things like in society like laws. Okay, a lot of decisions
jobs.
like jobs are being made by AI. Like, do you
Mm-hmm.
get the mortgage or do you not get the mortgage? That's not being made by a human, but by AI.
Look
Or
at RoboCop and how they use AI for
predictive
police.
policing.
Well,
Yeah.
for policing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
This is
yeah.
one
I
of
think
one
they're
of
using
these single.
AI in Japan or China for policing too.
Yeah, with the
See?
social
So,
credit system.
yeah.
This is truth.
Hmm.
Yeah. My whole concern with the whole technology and AI is
Cute truth seeker.
the amount of time we spend on technology and using and and not that's my whole thing about technology. Yes,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a tool, but we've
Mhm.
gone
Yeah.
beyond using it as a tool to it becoming our whole life for people, our God, our whole thing. I mean,
Mhm.
people can't even function without having their smartphone beside them and
Yeah.
computers and always being plugged in. So we haven't even got into that whole aspect
Right.
of it.
And we're
is
all
that
old
part.
enough to
So,
know
yeah.
what it was like without a cell phone or a
Exactly.
computer in
Yeah.
your home.
Mhm.
When I went to school, if you were going to do a book report, you're lucky if you had Wikipedia or some kind of reference material to make your book report about. You didn't have a cell phone where, and I notice the younger people, anytime they have a question, they go right to it to get the answer. We didn't have this kind of a
No.
tool
No,
back in those days. It was
back in the olden days,
school
you
of
had to
hard
go.
knocks.
You had to
School
go to
of,
the library.
yep. And
You had to
went to the
drive down to
library. Yep.
D.C. to the Library of Congress to look up certain things, or
Yep.
go to a
Mhm.
near
I used to buy
university.
encyclopedias at garage sales, so
There
that's
you
Yeah.
go. Yep. My parents always made sure we
Yeah.
had those
So
Yeah,
for
I
us.
had
Yeah.
one too. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
any
Yeah.
encyclopedias
yeah,
I saw, I'd buy them and
yeah. So
stick them on the shelf.
Yep.
Mhm.
But look how
yeah.
much
So
information
talk
you can
about
reference now
Yeah.
Mhm.
on a
yeah,
just on a simple
yeah.
cell phone.
But to be careful, but yeah, but look at the amount of time that is taken up. Like
Yep.
that's the whole thing. Yeah, you
Mhm.
have to look at it
Yep. How much
it
time do
being
you
a
spend on
tool
it?
as opposed to how
Yeah.
much time of your life
Mm-hmm.
is taken up in this alternate
More
reality
than
and
we
this
ever have.
alternate and look at just the ultimate power that it has and the world when a energy, no matter how we look at it, and this is how I'm going to leave it, not saying I pushed about it being, that it doesn't have any smarts or anything like that, but think about it, what we've done. We've created a tool or an energy that has encompassed the whole world. There's not one corner of our world that does not use this technology, does not use this power and
And
use it every day on a daily basis, and we it's almost like you can't live without it. It has become our new god
that's also the problem
type
because
thing.
it's controllable and it's censorable. It's centrally controllable. And lately, I've noticed that it's very difficult to get a quote unquote straight answer about anything using search engines like DuckDuckGo, where
Yeah.
it's all mainstream. It's all the runaround. And like let's say you ask a simple question. Okay, what is vitamin B good for? And it's not going to tell you. For that, you're better off picking a reference book off my shelf and just looking up vitamin B and knowing the answer in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
because they can't. There's
Ooh,
liability
that's
issues
interesting, Black Raven.
where people are going to say,
Ooh.
the government's going to say, oh, we can't provide you with medical information. That's only a doctor can do that. So
Confirmation bias. Love
Bias.
that.
Yep. Definitely.
Ooh, we're on the same page, Black Raven. I just love you.
Mhm.
Cool.
All right. Well, it's 10:22 already.
Yeah. Ooh, that went by.
Wow, you didn't know you were going to open up this can of worms tonight, did you,
Oh
Matt?
man.
This was
You
fun.
sure,
This was
you
a lot
sure
of fun.
did, Matt. You sure did.
No, when you started talking about Randonautica, I got to thinking, oh wow, this is one of those, because we've done a show on
Got my
creative
blood going, I
consciousness.
can tell you that.
Yeah, I see that.
Woo.
Lori got fired
Why
up.
is that,
tonight.
Lori? What's your blood? No, I gotta know why
Well,
Lori's
usually-
blood going. Why is your blood going, Lori?
Because
Why?
it's
What's
an
going on? Why is your
interesting
blood fired up?
because it's an interesting topic and it's not something we normally do. So
Right.
tonight,
okay.
instead of being calm, cool, reserved, and making sure that
You
my
have a
mouth
passionate-
doesn't override, I thought, you know what? I'm going to embrace it this time, and I did. So
You're
It's
I
almost
hope
like
I
passionate
didn't
about one
upset
side or
anybody.
the other. What's your passionate side
No.
there, Lori? What's your passionate side say on this?
Yeah.
It's almost like we just had
That's what exactly. You
like
got
we-
it,
like-
Max. Because she's all riled up and she's not usually. Though I wanted an end comment from Lori, like a word, some ending words of wisdom.
Hello,
Yes,
Lori.
words of wisdom, Lori. What's the closeout? What's the takeaway, hon?
For me, consciousness is consciousness, whether it's mechanical, whether it's organic. Consciousness is consciousness. God made a human being in his own image. A human being made AI in their own image.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to leave you with.
And we are creators. I am, I create.
That's it. That's what I think.
And there's
I
a
like
great
it,
deal
Lori.
of value that's coming
Thanks,
out of
Max.
these.
I like you too.
Yep.
I like your comment. I like
Thank
you
you.
too.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Lori. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
I do too. Yep.
Yeah.
So next week, first of all, Matt, your show, Sunday Night Dead, is on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
On the Paranormal Channel.
Yep.
And then you have the astrology readings that you do with Sarah Soderlund, also on Tuesday nights, right?
That's
I thought it
really
was
good.
Wednesday. Tuesday nights.
10 o'clock.
You do a reading for the whole week.
Yeah, we kind of just go over what the and I saw somebody had posted something similar on this in the chat, but just kind of my view on that too. I take that as I was very skeptical when I dabbled into that as well, but I kind of feel like it's like how can I word this? Trees start changing their leaves in the fall. You can tell winter's coming. It doesn't mean that the leaves are actually causing the winter to come. It's kind of like the same thing I look at with these aspects. It's almost like a energetic tell as to what's coming, but it's not the cause of it.
Right.
And
You
just
guys
know Matt's
The
information is in
possibilities of what's coming.
in the description below. Matt, all of his information. Please go to his channel, subscribe, check him out. He's really good. We enjoyed our time on your channel. It's really cool stuff. So, and you get into all kinds of different things. Sorry,
Yep.
Karen, go ahead. I interrupted you.
Oh, no. I interrupted a little bit. I was just about Max. I didn't realize that he was doing the astrology as well. So I was just agreeing with him about the astrology and
Yeah, there's a lot
about the
to that.
importance of that.
Yeah, he and Sarah do
again.
readings for
Talk.
people.
Oh yeah. Yeah, talk about interesting, again, energetic, mathematical, very complex system. Let's put it that way.
So this
For
week,
sure.
I'll do a quick plug. This week I'm doing, usually I'm kind of just throw things out there and just let people decide. But this week I'm doing one where as I dug into this, I think there's a lot of conspiracy or cover up on, and we're going to talk Roswell on Sunday. So
Nice.
the Roswell incident is what we will cover.
Oh, cool.
tonight.
Very cool. Awesome.
That's going to be exciting,
Very-
actually. That's
A
interesting.
really good subject.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, listen,
Okay, and
we
Matt-
want
I'm
to.
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No,
So I have a question about that, Matt. Question. Sorry, you piqued my interest.
no, it's
now.
all good,
Sorry,
you
Lori.
guys. It's all good. It's good. It's
Just
good.
quickly, a question.
That's right.
A lot of energy
because of the
today.
astrology and what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
are you talking about you're going to do progression charts back into the time frame of the
Oh no,
well instance?
no, I'm
like
sorry.
the,
It's two different shows. So
palindromic system going back and
Right.
forth. What do you do?
yeah, I'm sorry.
No.
It's two different shows. So Sunday Night Dead is kind of like all things, kind of just exploring different kind of darkish topics. So it can be, you know, murders,
Oh, I
ghosts,
see.
thing.
Mhm.
Then Tuesday
Ghost
night
box.
with Sarah, we do the weekly astrology thing. So it's two different
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah, two different.
But your
Oh,
astrology stuff is really
Got it.
amazing because if you go back and look at it, a lot of what you guys talk about does kind of come to fruition.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's-
noticed with that. So it's very interesting. Yeah.
I gotta say, just
And
like the
Matt-
Randonautica app, I
Uh-huh.
start these things and I'm skeptical on it, but I'm like, oh, I'll go ahead and explore it and see what's to it. And this one, as I've
Yeah.
explored with it, I'm like, darn, this actually, you can make predictions with this. It's kind of strange.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, I'll be interested to hear more data as it comes in as you get more familiar with it.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
folks who don't know Max Vision,
Yes.
for the folks that follow Matt that don't know Max Vision that well,
Yeah.
Max Vision remote viewing class. He has a channel
Yes.
for remote viewing practice, and it really helps you exercise your viewing skills. And it's fantastic, and there's a lot of fun in the chat room. We just have a really great time. We keep it light, but we have some significant hits, and people have some great experiences in there. And Max typically does that on a Friday night, a Saturday night, and sometimes on Saturday afternoon he has a different. He comes on and discusses mud fossils and other things that are going on, current events
Yeah.
and activities.
It's really interesting as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Max,
very
I watch your
interesting.
channel a lot. I rarely do I comment but I'm there watching and I'm always upset with myself because I didn't write it down or put it in there. And I'm always hitting it.
She's hitting it like crazy, Max.
Okay, we
And
did
I'll-
awesome to everybody here in chat that does
Uh-huh.
come to class. We
Yeah.
hit it on the class 111,
Mhm.
the earthquake. We hit that.
Ooh.
Oh
We
my God.
predicted that.
Ooh. Wow.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Interesting. I know Scotty Boy's in there every single
Yeah.
time. Yep.
Yeah, he
So,
has
They
a
good
lot
saw
of
job,
it.
hits,
guys.
Scotty.
Yeah, he's very good
So
too.
go
Yeah.
back to class 111 and you'll see that we predicted the earthquake.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Wow.
It was some type
Interesting.
of geological event being used
Mhm.
as a weapon we saw. So
Wow.
Oh,
Interesting.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I had a predictive dream about the Kobe earthquake in
Hmm.
'94.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Ah,
Interesting. Huh.
cool.
A lot of refugees live in that area, and it's amazing that those buildings are built the way they are because they're kind of pancake buildings, they call them, and they just come down with a little bit of they're very rigid, but they don't have a lot of support on the bottom. And it's amazing that people in this day and age have to live in that kind of a situation
Definitely.
and not be protected by laws and building and all of that. So
Oh.
they were haphazardly put up and they came down rather quickly. And it's an absolute shame for all of those souls to not be with us. They lost a lot of people and it's
Definitely.
very, very unfortunate. Yeah.
there's a lot more evidence that that was a constructed event
Yeah.
coming out.
Yeah.
The earthquakes went in a line. They did not have an epicenter.
Hmm.
So it believes it is looking like it was a frequency weapon.
Wow.
Yeah,
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah, HARP.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, they can
Interesting.
combine HARP with Doppler radar and a few other
That's
right.
systems to really hit hard.
Well, wasn't the epicenter right exactly where all the buildings came
There
down
w-
and then
there
the
was-
meat of that?
No, there really
Mhm.
wasn't an epicenter. It kind of went in a string.
Huh, that's interesting because the
Mhm.
news,
But
not
that
saying
was
that
the
they're
area-
100% correct, but that's what they had stated that was the
Yeah.
epicenter. Okay.
Wow.
Huh,
They-
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Apparently
Well,
there was no epicenter.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Intense for Grandpa Brian Richards, one of our panelists. Two things: he constructed a greenhouse. He put his seedlings in. He planted. He was on a roll. The wind came along and blew his greenhouse down. So
Oh.
now he's going
Oh.
to start over with his greenhouse and find.
And I
latest
bet
spirit.
that his greenhouse that he's going to redo is going to be 10 times better
Even
than the one
better.
he had. So
Better.
there's always a positive that comes out of a negative.
Mhm.
So there
I
you
gave
go.
Jeannie Musgrave Griffin and Michael a heads up. Brian, because there might be some construction techniques there that will help you with the high wind situation. Also, his grandmother not his grandmother, his aunt. Ascended. His aunt a couple of days ago ascended as well, and so we send our intents and prayers for the family. And Brian knows he's got another person on his team now. So
yep, that's it. You got it.
Our love goes to Brian.
All right.
Thank you.
And we still have good intents for Ken. Ken was hospitalized after a bad fall. I don't know what the current condition is. I don't know if he's been released or not, but I know he's been treated. That on top of his other issues. So we send our thoughts and prayers to Ken as well. Okay.
How is Isby?
Yeah, Isby.
Yeah, Isby.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Isby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sending lots of love, intent, and all of that. Yeah. I want to thank everybody in chat. Thank you so much, everyone in chat. Really, really enjoy your chatting. Sometimes I'm paying more attention to that than I am the show, but because it's so amazing what you guys are talking about.
Well, there's such incredible input.
They really are. Yeah. Really amazing. But so we'll see you next week. Watch for the trailer. You'll know what the discussion's all about. And just want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you, our guests, for being here. Max Vision, Matt Slozer, Dalibor Suki, Queen of Courts, Karen, Grandpa Brian, and most definitely Teresa, my best buddy on the panel. Thank you so much. All right. We'll see you later. Peace out and much love to all.
Love to all of you. Thank you, Lori, for all you do. Bye, everybody.
Oh.